Donald Trump acaba de recibir una lección por parte del presidente de la Reserva Federal, Jerome Powell. Y aunque Powell redujo la tasa de interés de preferencia en un cuarto de punto porcentual, hace unos días dijo que, debido al daño que Donald Trump está causando en nuestra economía, está lejos de ser una conclusión inevitable que haya más recortes de tasas. Quiero que veas lo que acaba de decir Jerome Powell. Esconde esa botella de ketchup de Donald Trump. Miren el clip, por favor.
Look, and the balance of risks. We continue to face two-sided risks. In the committee's discussions at this meeting, there were strongly differing views about how to proceed in December. A further reduction in the policy rate at the December meeting is not a foregone conclusion. Far from it.
Ahora, el presidente de la Reserva Federal, Jerome Powell, quien tiene acceso a todos los datos reales de las estadísticas económicas del país, explica cómo a corto plazo los riesgos de inflación en Estados Unidos obviamente están al alza y los riesgos de empleo están a la baja, o sea, hay aumento de inflación, o como se diría en términos económicos profesionales, estanflación. Miren el clip, por favor.
In the near term, risks to inflation are tilted to the upside and risks to employment to the downside. A challenging situation. There is no risk-free path for policy as we navigate this tension between our employment and inflation goals. Our framework calls for us to take a balanced approach in promoting both sides of our dual mandate.
A continuación, Jerome Powell explica cómo los aranceles de Donald Trump están haciendo que los precios de las cosas aumenten.
Higher tariffs are pushing up prices in some categories of goods, resulting in higher overall inflation. A reasonable base case is that the effects on inflation will be relatively short-lived, a one-time shift in the price level. But it is also possible that the inflationary effects could instead be more persistent, and that is a risk to be assessed and managed.
También habla sobre cómo el crecimiento del empleo se ha desacelerado significativamente como resultado de los ataques de Donald Trump a las fuerzas y a los mercados laborales. Miren el clip, por favor.
Job gains have slowed significantly since earlier in the year. A good part of the slowing likely reflects a decline in the growth of the labor force due to lower immigration and labor force participation, though labor demand has clearly softened as well. Although official employment data for September are delayed, available evidence suggests that both layoffs and hiring remain low, and that both households' perceptions of job availability and firms' perceptions of hiring difficulty continue to decline. In this less dynamic and somewhat softer labor market, the downside risks to employment appear to have risen in recent months.
Jerome Powell también describe lo que estamos viendo como dos factores que afectan el mercado laboral. Una reducción dramática en nuevos trabajadores. Miren el clip, por favor.
What is your explanation for why the job market is weakening right now, and what will this rate cut do to improve the job market?
So I think there are two things affecting the job market, and one of them is just a dramatic reduction in the supply of new workers. And that's two things. That's declining labor force participation, which is a cyclical thing. And then there's declining immigration, which is just a big policy change that actually began in the last administration and it has been accelerated now. So a big part of the whole story is that supply side story. Okay. In addition, labor demand has declined, and the unemployment rate has gone down, meaning that demand for workers is going down a little more than supply. So that's what's going on, but it is mostly a supply function. It's mostly a function of the change in supply, I think, and many people think. So the question then is, what does the our tool do, which supports demand? And and I would just say, when you're in a situation where job creation, if you adjust for likely overcounting in the way that BLS does its work, is pretty close to zero. So maximum employment doesn't, on a sustainable basis, if you're creating zero jobs. If it's in equilibrium, if it's in balance, it's a pretty, as I said before, a pretty curious balance. So, I thought, and many of my colleagues thought, in fact, you've seen the last two meetings, that it was appropriate for us to react by supporting demand with our rates, and we've done that. We've reduced so that rates are looser. I wouldn't say that they're accommodative right now, but they're meaningfully less tight than they were. And that should help so that at least the labor market doesn't get worse. So it's a complicated situation, and some people argue that this is supply and we really can't affect it much with our tools, but others argue, as I do, that there is an effect from demand and that we should use our tools to support the labor market when we see this happening.
Jerome Powell también habla y básicamente lo describe como que los ricos cada día se están haciendo más ricos, mientras que los demás ven todo esto mientras que su vida económica se destruye. Todo por culpa de Donald Trump. Así es como lo dice cuando dice que si escuchas informes de grandes empresas públicas de consumo, dicen que en el segmento alto hay mucho gasto, pero en todos los demás lugares donde verdaderamente están los consumidores, donde está la lucha, es peor. Miren el clip, por favor.
Thing, I would say the same thing, or a similar thing. We are, if you listen to the earnings calls or the reports of, big public consumer-facing companies, many of them are saying that there's a bifurcated economy there, and that consumers at the lower end are struggling and buying less and shifting to lower-cost products, but that at the top, people are spending at the higher income and wealth, and so much anecdotal data on that, and so we think there's something there.
Jerome Powell también habla sobre cómo hay políticas restrictivas en marcha. Mira, por favor.
Aid is a big part of that, but also just we think policy is still modestly restrictive in my telling. So that's the kind of thing that should lead to a gradually cooling economy. That's one of the reasons you see a gradually cooling labor market, is because the Fed policy is modestly restrictive. So that should also help get that. I want to say though, we're absolutely committed to returning inflation to 2%. If you look at longer-term surveys or market pricing, you will see that's a credible commitment, and there should be no question that that's where we're going.
Ahora, contrasta esto con lo que Donald Trump dijo apenas unas horas antes de su desastrosa visita a Corea del Sur, donde él afirma que según él, sus aranceles detuvieron la inflación. Lo opuesto exacto a lo que está diciendo el banquero central de Estados Unidos, Jerome Powell. Mira, por favor.
Those wars ended. On top of it all, tariffs now projected to reduce our deficit by $4 trillion over the next 10 years, and I think actually much more than that. That's national security, because you can't have deficits and you can't have debt all over the place, and stops inflation and strengthening the dollar and ultimately balancing our federal budget, which I think we're going to do very quickly, only because of our policy of fair tariffs.
Luego Donald Trump dice que Estados Unidos necesita tener las tasas de interés más bajas de todo el mundo. Él dice, simplemente hay que seguir bajándolas. El problema es que cuando haces esto de forma precipitada, la inflación aumenta de forma precipitada. Y eso es exactamente lo que estamos viendo hoy por hoy. Mira, por favor.
Well, appoint somebody that we all like, because we should have the lowest interest rates of any country, because without us there are no other countries really. I mean, the whole thing falls apart. America always had the lowest interest rates, and now we don't do that. We're like number 28. It's ridiculous. And we're a much different country than we were 2 years ago or a year ago even.
Luego Donald Trump afirma que a la hora de despedir burócratas, está creando más empleos. Cuando en realidad el auge que había manufacturero cuando estaba Joe Biden como presidente, tristemente con Donald Trump ya no existe. Básicamente los empleos de manufactura y de construcción se encuentran en recesión. Créanme que estos empleos ahora mismo están cayendo. Miren el clip, por favor.
I've shrunk the size of government for the first time in many years since January. 100,000 bureaucrats have left the federal payroll. You've probably seen that. So we're creating real jobs. We're getting rid of wasteful jobs. Government spending is down 2.5% this quarter compared to 1 year ago. It was going through the roof in the previous administration.
Luego tienes a Donald Trump en Corea del Sur diciendo que básicamente ese es su plan. O sea que su plan es hacer anuncios de buenas noticias sin importar si son reales o no. Y entonces, según él, así sube el mercado de valores.
When we announce good news, the stock markets are going to go up. And that's the way it should be. And we're going to really ride that very hard. And when we announce good news, we're not going to have a Fed that's going to raise interest rates because they're worried about inflation in 3 years from now or something. When we announce good news, we want the stock market to go up, not to go down. And the scourge of inflation we inherited. You know, we inherited the worst inflation ever that we've ever had. I inherited from incompetent people, and now we're down to a very low rate of inflation, 2.7%, and it's going to be a little bit lower than that. It's almost a perfect number.
Luego hace esto y miente diciendo que Estados Unidos ha recibido 22 billones de dólares entre aranceles e inversión, lo cual es falso porque miren, la semana pasada o hace 2 semanas dijo que Estados Unidos había recibido 17 billones. Luego dijo que 18, luego dijo que 20 y ahora dice que 22. Quiero que magnifiquen que son 22 billones de dólares. Yo creo que Donald Trump no conoce la palabra PIB, pero bueno, miren el clip, por favor.
For over $18 trillion of new investments. As an example, the previous administration, in 4 years, they did less than $1 trillion. I think much less, actually, and hurt our country very badly. Who would have known? But we're going to be 18, so I figure that we'll probably be at 20 or 21, maybe even $22 trillion of investments coming into our country by the end of the first year of my second term.
Sí, y como lo mencioné, el auge de construcción de fábricas bajo Joe Biden, adiós. Eso ya no existe. Además, Donald Trump anunció cuando estaba en Corea del Sur, lo cual es extraño. Según él, el señor Toyota, como él lo llama, le dijo: hey Donald, nosotros le vamos a dar 10.000 millones de dólares a Estados Unidos. Y luego el señor Toyota dijo: no, no estamos haciendo eso. Nunca prometimos dar 10.000 millones de dólares. Trump es el flautista de Amelín de las mentiras. Él va por ahí mintiendo una y otra vez. Esto es lo que dijo Donald Trump. Mira, por favor.
Last night I met with Mr. Toyota and we had an amazing meeting. I said, what's your name? Toyota. I said, you're rich. And he's going to invest, think of this, $10 billion in the United States to build manufacturing plants. They'll build their cars with American workers, largely. They have the right to send some experts. But they're going to be building cars in the United States.
Y bueno amigos, ahí lo tienen. Esta es la verdad de lo que está pasando en Estados Unidos ahora mismo. Como siempre te digo, para mí lo más importante es tu opinión y me encantaría de verdad que la pongas en los comentarios. Además, si este tipo de videos te gusta saber de política estadounidense, te va a encantar suscribirte al canal, ya que subo videos de noticias todos los días. Mi nombre es José Alvarado, soy economista y estoy comprometido a informarte diariamente. Nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.